Chapter 13. Unsettling Revelations.
Okay, Jack's gone for a shower. You'll make it out if you run.
Levi strode back into the room. I put my head in my hands. I can't believe I just had sex with you. God, I groaned. Levi didn't say anything and shrugged his shirt on silently. Do you know what? I'll go for the fire escape. I'm not risking running into him, I said, standing up from the bed. My legs shook a little and my cheeks grew hot. I pulled on my jeans from the floor and grabbed my shirt from next to it. I turned to make sure my hair wasn't a bird's nest and saw Levi smirking. What the hell are you smirking at, McIntyre? He shook his head with a laugh. I waved my arms. What? I hissed. He nodded to my legs.
You gonna be alright to walk?
I narrowed my eyes and punched his shoulder. Screw you, I snapped. He snorted and walked over to his bedroom window.
Fire escape's just to the left.
He gestured with his index finger. I raised an eyebrow. And how do you know that? Levi shrugged with a smirk.
There's a lot you don't know about me. Contrary to your files, Miss Clarke.
Butterflies shot into my stomach, and I was stunned into silence.
He'll be in the shower for at least 10, so you've got the time. I'd move now, though.
He warned. I swung my left leg out of the window, but my right one stayed in Levi's room, keeping me from falling. I paused just before I swung my other leg over. Levi still stood there with his shirt half undone.
You good there, Clarke?
He asked with his goddamn smirk. I rolled my eyes. Thank you, I smiled. Levi frowned.
You're welcome.
I shook my head, laughing. You have no idea why, do you? Levi narrowed his eyes. I stopped laughing and wiped my eyes dramatically. Seriously, for the other night. Thank you, I said genuinely. Levi nodded.
I'd have done the same to any woman in that situation, regardless of what I do.
I shrugged with one shoulder. Maybe, but even so, I trailed off. Levi didn't say anything, so I took that as my cue to haul my other leg out the window and climb the fire escape.
Good news, Agent Clarke. Agent Miller can return to the case.
Evans grinned. Miller was next to him, his ever-so-pleasant frown on his moody face. Good news? Wouldn't be able to tell that, sir, what with Miller's sour Susan expression he's got on. I snarked playfully. Evans smiled before covering it with his hand. Miller just narrowed his eyes. I grinned.
Have you got any new evidence on them, Agent Clarke?
I sighed and shook my head. No, they've not left their apartment the whole time I've been here. Miller growled and Agent Evans pinched his nose. I've even stayed right outside their door, but they still haven't left, despite it now being Thursday. Both men frowned on the video call. I raised an eyebrow. They were going to do Cartier and Harry Winston on Tuesday, so I don't know what they're paying at, I answered.
Well, okay. We'll sort everything out when I get there. For now, just sort out the evidence we've already gathered, and we'll have another look tomorrow night when I get there.
I was about to ask him when his plane was due to land, but somebody hammered on my door.
Clarke, what's that?
I shrugged. To be honest, it could be anyone. This isn't the nicest area. I grinned playfully, despite the sudden unease seeping into my veins. My door shook again when somebody practically body-slammed it. I'm gonna go see who's assaulting my door, but I'll get everything ready for you, Mills. I blew a kiss at the screen and hung up the call. I grabbed my taser from the side table next to me, just as a precaution. Who's there? I called.
Open the door!
A voice shouted through. I rolled my eyes with a sigh. I unlocked the door and opened it, revealing my ever-so-loving brother. What the hell do you want, Jack? I thought I made it clear I wanted nothing to do with you, I snapped, crossing my arms. Jack balled something up and threw it at my chest. What the hell is this? I snapped, grabbing the assaulting item.
I don't know, you tell me.
I unfolded the item and my heart sank. It was my shirt. Jack...
Why the hell was your shirt in our living room?
I sighed. It's a long story and you ain't gonna believe it, I warned. Jack stuffed his hands into his pockets.
At this point, I'll believe anything.
I scratched my head. Can we talk about this inside? I asked. Jack shook his head.
No, out here. I don't want to be here long, so get on with it.
He snapped. I raised an eyebrow and bit the inside of my cheek, trying to hold in my temper. I was mugged Tuesday night, and Clarisse helped me, I began. My shirt was filthy, covered in dirt and other street shit, so I took it off. She must have washed it for me. I played with the ring on my right hand, a gift from my aunt for my birthday last year. Jack raised an eyebrow.
Oh yeah, okay. Clarisse doesn't help anyone unless it somehow benefits her in some way or another, so you want to try again?
Maybe she was just being a decent human being. Saw a woman getting mugged and intervened, Jack. It's what decent humans do.
I love Clarisse, but there is no way she'd be able to get a fully grown man off of you. So, little Miss Liar, who else was there if this is true?
Hang the fuck on, I snapped. Why the hell do you care all of a sudden? I asked, putting a hand on my hip. Jack ignored me. I suddenly came over in a rush of cold sweat as Jack stared at me with wide eyes. His ice-cold stare turned into a burning glare.
You had sex with Levi?
I reeled back and frowned. How the living hell did you come to that conclusion? I exclaimed. Jack pointed a finger at me and then my shirt.
Levi was screwing someone last night, and your shirt just happened to be in our room? Fuck!
For a good second, I thought Jack had hit me. Not that it concerns you, Jack. But no, I did not screw Levi, and neither would I. I already have a kid, I don't want to risk another.
But you don't, do you?
I froze. What did you say? I whispered. I could feel my anger rising, and when I lost my shit, nobody came out okay.
I said, but you don't.
I screamed and launched at him. The unfiltered rage from years of being mistreated by him just bubbled over. I remember swinging at him and Jack dodging the first one, but I swung back and punched his cheek. He jolted to the left with a shout. How dare you! I cried in anger. I shoved him to the ground and started swinging at his face. Jack put his hands up to defend himself and swung back.
How dare I?
Why the fuck does it matter who I goddamn sleep with? I yelled. Jack didn't answer and swung at my face. My cheek lit up in pain and I stopped, realizing he just punched me. My chest heaved and I shrieked in anger, reeling my fist back. Just as I was about to give him a final one, somebody grabbed my fist.
What the hell is going on?
A new voice shouted over mine and Jack's screaming. Someone hauled me off and grabbed my arms. I kicked and flailed, desperate to keep hitting him.
Stop!
The voice belonging to the man that held me yelled. I ignored him and continued to kick my legs, hoping he'd drop me.
Fuck! She's strong! I need help!
Another set of arms grabbed me and shoved me against the wall.
Claire, get him out of here!
The new set of arms yelled. There was some scuffling as Clarisse hauled Jack away.
You need to calm yourself before you get the attention of anybody else.
I bit my lip hard enough to make it bleed. That was a probably unhealthy technique I developed over the years to keep my anger in check. Having a source of pain helped me change my mindset. My vision cleared up, but my chest still heaved with breaths of anger. My cheeks were wet, and not from the blood of Jack's punch.
Blake, go see if Claire needs help. I've got it from here.
I almost wanted to die as the voice that filled me with pleasure a mere 12 hours ago spoke.
She's a strong one, probably on par with you.
She's fine. I've taken on bigger people. Go.
The rougher set of arms, obviously not Levi because he was soft, usually covered by a hoodie. Why do I know that? Left, and I slid down the wall, sobbing into my knees. I felt him sit next to me, but he didn't say anything. I sobbed loudly. Jack ruined everything, I cried out loud, not caring if anybody heard. If he'd answered his goddamn phone, I could have kept her. I could have finished work and seen my daughter, but no, I had to give her away. His hand gently rested on my shoulder and rubbed it, but I didn't look at him.
Jack's a difficult person, yes, but I don't think him answering his phone is the main problem here.
Levi spoke quietly. But it is. I rang him, begging him for his help. If he'd answered, I could have asked him for some money to look after her. But he didn't. And I couldn't, I whispered, hugging my knees tightly. Levi didn't say anything, and I appreciated it. Sometimes just having the company was enough to stave off the loneliness. A door shut somewhere from downstairs, and Levi cleared his throat.
Come on, let's get that face of yours cleaned up.
He held his hand out, and I took it.
Don't worry, I won't look at any of the evidence you've got.
I gave a wet laugh and wiped my eyes. Levi walked in and pushed me down into one of the lounge chairs, then walked off to grab some ice. I rubbed my eyes and sighed deeply. I opened them back up and saw Levi sitting opposite me with a bag of ice and a plaster. I smiled a little. "Why have you got the plaster?" Levi frowned.
The what?
I pointed to the plaster. "That." He held it up with a frown.
The Band-Aid?
I smiled and shook my head. "Either way, why have you got it?" Levi pointed to my face.
You've cut it.
Then, as if he was handling a newborn, he placed the plaster on my left cheek.
There.
I felt my cheeks heat up at the proximity we were in. The last time we were so close, we ended up making out and sleeping together, which for some reason I still felt shit for. His eyes were such a gorgeous shade of blue. They almost looked aqua.
Here.
He borderline whispered, pressing the ice to my cheek. I subconsciously grabbed it and continued holding it there. I couldn't help but stare into his eyes.
Clarke, what the hell are you doing?
Miller and I had our biggest fight yet. He was yelling about why I was with the ringleader, while I was screaming that he was helping me and, thus far, hadn't given me a reason to arrest him. I refused to talk to Miller for the rest of the evening out of embarrassment or shame. I couldn't choose. To be fair, Miller didn't try to approach me, probably for similar reasons. We worked on the evidence in silence, just making notes and passing pieces of paper back and forth. At around 11, my eyes were barely open, so I decided to throw it in for the night and head to bed. Or I would have done, if there wasn't a mysterious package on the bed. Usually I would have been suspicious, as we were trained to be, but I was just too tired to care. I opened the rectangular box, and a sweet smell instantly greeted my nose. In the box lay a bunch of flowers, all varying shades of pink, purple, blue, and even a few white ones. I gasped at the sheer beauty of them. I picked up a pink rose and brought it to my nose. The sweet smell of freshness and freshly cut grass filled my senses. I gently put it back down with the others and picked up the piece of paper that lay next to them.
Sorry for getting you in trouble with your partner. I should have left sooner. Hope you enjoy the flowers. Also, I bought these especially for you. The receipt's on the back of this note just as reassurance. L.
My heart swelled, and I glanced out the window, hoping to see him there. Wait, why did I want this? Why did I want him? What was happening to me? I woke up the next morning feeling fresh and refreshed. I stretched in bed and yawned.
Wake up, Clarke. We've got work to do.
In less than 10 words, Miller had already ruined my good mood. I groaned into the pillow, but got up anyway. The sooner we finished this case, the sooner I could get back to my life without feeling confused and conflicted. I shoved some slippers on, courtesy of Sandy, but she didn't know yet that I'd stolen some of her slippers, and my favourite hoodie. I shuffled out of my bedroom and dropped onto the sofa.
Right.
Miller began. I groaned and dropped my head back against the sofa. That was his, "I'm gonna boss you around until you listen to me" voice.
Here's how it's gonna go. We're gonna interview them.
I frowned. We already did that a few days ago. Plus, that's not gonna do out, because we've been here for the last 3 days and they ain't moved. Miller's face turned and did something funny. He stroked the goatee on his face.
Not gonna do out? What does that mean?
I shrugged. Just a British euphemism for nothing. Not gonna do out, not gonna do anything. Miller raised an eyebrow, then shook his head.
Whatever. I'll interview them then, and you can stay guard outside their apartment. Make sure none of them go anywhere.
And that was how, 30 minutes later, I was sitting on the floor outside their apartment. Miller had chosen to speak to Jack first, who I'd glared at venomously as he strode by, a nice black bruise decorating his face. I braided my purple hair first. I cut it short when it all kicked off with Mason, but I regretted that decision every single day until it was long enough to plait over my shoulder again. That soon got boring, having undone the braid and redone it 4 times. I began to bite my nails, cutting them down to a length I was happy with. Short, and not too much of the white bit there. Yes, I'm aware there's probably an issue hiding there somewhere, but I don't care. Then I was bored again. I unlocked my phone, opened the email Miller had sent me yesterday, and began looking through all the evidence again. If Miller was going to spend half an eternity speaking to each one, I might as well make myself useful. God knows how long it was before Jack came back. He strode past, not bothering to look at me and into the apartment.
Levi, he wants you.
My heart did something funny when he waltzed out, shrugging his shirt on. Are you always shirtless? I playfully jibed.
Shit, you made me jump.
He sighed. I smirked. Lil old me? I feigned innocence. He shook his head, smiling, and walked down the stairs to speak with Miller. I turned my attention back to my phone and began rereading all of the files. I whistled out loud. Jesus, they'd robbed way more than I thought. Stores robbed and an estimated total of how much? New York City, Gucci, 1.25 million. Bulgari, 1.5 million. Swarovski, 2 million. Miami, Tiffany & Co., 2 million. Los Angeles, NA. Where the hell were they hiding over $6 million worth of jewellery? I sighed out loud and rubbed my head. There had to be a pattern. They weren't just robbing these places for no reason. Every criminal has a pattern or a style, and robbing over $4 million from New York alone meant there was an end goal. But what was it? Usually, I could tell when Miller was pissed off. His face would turn an interesting shade of purple, and then his veins would pulsate like a heartbeat. I think the fact that he heaved like a horse helped as well. So that's why I was very surprised when Miller stormed upstairs, face completely normal and devoid of any heart-like additions.
Astrid!
He called. Shit. Miller never used my name. He always called me Clarke. Yeah? I asked slowly. I lowered my phone into my lap.
Would you care to explain why I just had a notification from my news app about a robbery?
I stayed quiet. Maybe this was a trick question. When Miller didn't elaborate further, I decided to answer. I frowned and shrugged. Because that's what the app does? I tried to keep it as a statement, but it turned into a question. Miller nodded and pursed his lips.
Do you know what was robbed, Danielle?
I stared at him, worried. Miller, are you having a stroke? You never call me Danielle. He ignored me and handed me his phone. I swiped up and looked at the notification bar. My heart dropped. Breaking news. Harry Winston Jewelers in Beverly Hills robbed. Developing story, more to come. The news article stared at me as if it was taunting me. Miller clicked his fingers and I handed his phone back over sheepishly. He snatched it out of my hands. This was it. Miller was going to explode in a flurry of violent hand gestures and angry shouting.
If you weren't on your damn phone, you'd have realized.
I frowned at the accusation. What? Realized what? That 3 of them are in the apartment, and to my knowledge, you were speaking with the ringleader? Ah, there it was. Miller's signature purple face.
Fuck!
He screamed and flew back down the stairs. I followed him, almost flying down them myself. He stormed in and shoved Levi against a wall. I gasped in shock. Miller! I cried.
How?
He screamed in his face. For a split second, and only for a split second, I saw Levi's arrogant facade crack. I searched for something to haul him back by. There was no way in hell acting like this to a potential suspect was okay. Then, with a sudden weight, I remembered the taser in my hoodie pocket. I got it out and charged it up. Agent Miller, I shouted, pointing my taser at his back. Levi locked eyes with me, and all I saw was panic. Miller stopped shaking him and turned around slowly. He glared at my taser.
You gonna taser me, Danielle?
He hissed. I readjusted my position. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with you, but you need to sort yourself out. Miller huffed a laugh.
You don't have the balls to taser me.
I nodded. Probably not, but be rest assured, should the need arise, I will. This is your final warning. Step away. Miller sighed in anger, his eyes blazing, but he stepped away. Not breaking my glare or position. Levi, go. He hesitated slightly. Levi, I yelled. With one last look, he dashed off through the doors. Miller slumped down as if his strings had been cut. I didn't move and kept my taser trained on him. He just sat there, dazed almost. I took a few steps forward. Mills? I asked cautiously. He just shook his head. Miller, are you having a stroke? I asked, raising an eyebrow. My sarcasm was usually a way to get him out of whatever the hell kind of slump or mood he'd fallen into.
They've done it again,
he mumbled over and over. It unsettled me. That night, Miller retired to bed early while I stayed up doing some research on my earlier theory of them having an end goal. All of the companies they'd robbed so far were being bought, it turned out. That's odd, I mumbled to myself. They'd all been listed as needing new shareholders within the same time frame of a few days, around 6 months ago. I clicked a few links and drew a few lines on the papers I had in front of me. There was a list of potential buyers, or at least people who were interested in becoming a shareholder. Many of them were already multimillionaires, and some even billionaires. 2 people in particular, with the names Griffin Enterprises and Smithson Logistics, had applied for multiple slots, but they were real estate and oil companies, respectively. What the hell do they want with a few jewelry companies? I shook my head. I picked up some of the statements the employees at Harry Winston had given, and a few drawings the LAPD had sent over. All of the statements had one thing in common: the looks of the guy who did it. He, as described, walked in like a customer, nothing out of the ordinary. One employee said the same person had then walked out of the stockroom around 20 minutes later, donning their uniform, unlocking a few cabinets, grabbing some necklaces and rings, putting them in a bag and walking back out of the stockroom. Their exact quote was, "I just assumed he was a new member of staff. We just done a few hires." Another report said he put a few tiaras in another bag, along with some bracelets and earrings, and walked into the stockroom again. I rubbed my eyes and pulled up the list of missing items I'd been sent by the manager of the store. I let out a low whistle. Whoever this man was, in the span of a few minutes, he'd robbed over $1 million in jewelry, nearly 2. The LAPD, while the sketch was kinda helpful, it wasn't great, I have to be honest. So I grabbed a pencil and a piece of paper and began sketching my idea of who the person was. Gelled back brown but greying hair. Narrow eyes, almost as if he was glaring at me. Brown, nearly black eyes. Frown lines. No hint of a smile. Stood at about 5'9", maybe edging into 6 feet. Thick eyebrows. I drew a very rough, probably not much better than the LAPD, sketch of our bad guy. I frowned deeply as I took in what I'd drawn. I reread all of the statements and made sure everything was the same. I picked up the piece of paper and walked towards Miller's room. "Hey, Miller," I called, frowning at the paper again. I knocked on his door. "I have a sketch of the guy who robbed Harry Winston, and I don't know if it's my shit drawing skills or their poor eyesight." I twisted the doorknob and opened the door. "But this guy looks an awful lot like you." I looked up from the paper. "Miller?" I called. His bed was empty and hadn't been laid in. Maybe he was in the bath. "Miller?" I called again. The door creaked behind me and the floorboards whined. "Miller, what the hell are you playing at?" I asked. Something glittered in his hands, but I kept my eyes on his. Something about this wasn't right. "Miller?" I asked. He sighed.
It's a real shame, this.
He nodded to the paper in my hands. "Why?" I asked, feeling for my taser.
Oh, I took that away ages ago. Don't worry about looking for it.
My heart dropped. "You," I realized. "You robbed Harry Winston, didn't you?" Miller grinned, and I didn't like it one bit.
Agent Evans was right about one thing.
He paused. For one of the very few times in my life, I was terrified. "What's that, Miller?" I tried to keep my voice steady, but it betrayed me and shook.
That you're good at your job.
Miller finished. He raised his arm, and I saw what he was holding. A bat.
A little too good.
With a thwack, my vision went abruptly dark, and I knew no more.